نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وكان الله بكل شيء عليما بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم الأمين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, it's a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given me and you the ability and tawfiq to participate in this gathering, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering a source of guidance for all of us, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering one of the means of our entry into Jannah. We have started a new chapter of Seerah, of our Seerah class, which was about the early childhood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah, we started it almost 5 weeks ago. In our first session, we learned that after Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born, he was sent away from his family to be raised in a desert, in a certain tribe by the name of Banu Sa'ad for different reasons. And alhamdulillah, we learned about all of those reasons, that this was a custom for the elite and the noble people of Quraysh. They would send their babies, they would send their children away in a desert among certain tribes to be raised away from their family for a number of reasons. And alhamdulillah, we understood all of those reasons in our first session. In the second session, we tried to understand how Halima bint Sa'adiyah adopted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and after she adopted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she saw so many blessings in her household by taking care of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that even after the foster care period was over, which was of 2 years, she requested Amina to extend her contract. And Amina, when she saw so much love and so much care, and when she saw that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in good hands, Amina extended the contract of Halima bint Sa'adiyah. So that's what we learned in the second session. In the third session, we learned that during the second phase of the foster care of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the incident of Shaqqus Sadr, the incident of the opening up of the chest of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took place when he was about 4 years old, when Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam came to him when he was playing with his friends. Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam came, and then Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam cut open his chest, took his heart out, took out a black slither from his heart and called it Haza Hizzu Shaytani Minka, that this is a portion of Shaitan, this is a portion from Shaitan in your heart. So Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, he took it out. This was an incident that took place during the second phase of the foster care of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After that incident, Halima bint Sa'adiyah became so worried about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that she returned quietly Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Amina. In the fourth session, we learned that Amina took Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was about 6 years old. She took him to Medina, to Yathrib. And she took him to Yathrib because Prophet ﷺ had some relatives in Yathrib. Amina wanted Rasulullah ﷺ to know all of his relatives so that he can be more protected. Like I've told you before, it was the time of Jahiliyyah. There was no government, there was no rule, there was no law, there was no security, there was no protection. You can only be protected by your relatives. So the more relatives you have in that society, the more protected you will be. So one of the great grandmothers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the wife, one of the wives of Hashim, was from Yathrib. So he has some relatives in Yathrib. So Amina took Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Yathrib to let him meet other relatives so that he can have more protection, because he's an orphan child. So she wanted to provide him as much protection as she can. On her way back from Yathrib, she fell sick, and right there and then she died. And she died in a place which is called Al-Abwa, which is still there in Saudi Arabia to this place, and her grave is still there. And after she died, in our last session, we learned that Prophet ﷺ was entrusted to his grandfather Abu Talib, Abdul Muttalib. And Abdul Muttalib loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There were 2 incidents that we can find in the books of Seerah. There are many incidents, but they are not of authentic nature, not even of semi-authentic nature. So I avoided discussing them because we are recording all these videos and many people are going to watch this. So it's my responsibility to share as much authentic information as I can. So there are only two incidents that I found in the books of Seerah. One is from Ibn Ishaq and one is from Tabaqat Ibn Sa'd, which these two incidents actually show that how much Abdul Muttalib loved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But at the age of 8, Abdul Muttalib, when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 8 years old, his grandfather also passed away. And before he passed away on his deathbed, Abdul Muttalib entrusted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Abu Talib, one of his uncles, Abu Talib. Even though Abbas was still alive, Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu was still alive, Abu Lahab was still alive, but he entrusted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Abu Talib, and the reason was Abu Talib was the only full brother of Abdullah, his father. So that's why he entrusted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Abu Talib. Tonight's discussion is a very small discussion. I don't think that I will take more than 10 to 12 minutes to wrap up this discussion, but I need your attention, because this is the question that you people will ask you. Recently, I have started taking more interest in Seerah class, because when I came back from Pakistan, because I went to Pakistan for my sister's wedding, and her one of her uncle-in-law, when I came back, he sent me a text, a WhatsApp text, a very long WhatsApp text, and he told me that because he worked in a multinational company, so one of his boss is from America, and that guy is interested in Islam, and he has no doubt whatsoever about the authenticity of Quran. He loves the language of the Quran, he loves the content of the Quran, he has no misunderstanding when it comes to the Quran. But nonetheless, he has some confusions with regards to the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he asked many questions that inshallah we will discuss in our Seerah class one by one when the situation will come, when we will be discussing that topic. One of the questions that he asked me was this question, that if you believe that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the chosen one, if you believe that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the most and is the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put so much trials and tribulation on Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was only a child? He was only 8 years old. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put 3 orphan situations, 3 traumatic situations upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? If Allah had wanted, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have born in a lap of luxury. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had wanted, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam could have had his parents at least until he became a young man, or at least until he became a prophet. He can stand on his own feet. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed such a difficult and tough childhood upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? What is the reason behind it? And the reasons are amazing. And subhanallah, you know brothers, whenever we come across these kinds of questions, we think that these are the questions that we are thinking nowadays. Because I'm living in 2017, it's a century of information, and people have access to so many things, and nowadays people read a lot of stuff, and then they come up with these kinds of questions. But wallahi, if you look into Islamic traditions, brother, if you look into our Islamic scholarship, our aslaf, our elders, our scholars, mashallah, in their own books, they have already discussed all these questions. They have already discussed all these questions. It's so unfortunate that we don't even understand. Forget about learning Arabic language. Forget about learning Arabic language. That's another topic altogether. We are not even interested in reading Seerah books. You know, there are so many Seerah books in English. In English there are Seerah books. But we don't even bother to learn them. We don't even bother to read them. Our kids, they know about Romeo and Juliet, and they know about Frozen, and they know about all these kinds of stories, but when it comes to our Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when it comes to the companions of Rasulullah, they don't know their stories. They don't look at them as their role models. And this is not their fault, this is our fault. We are telling them the story of Cinderella, and we are telling them the story of Beauty and the Beast, and we are telling them the story of all. And wallahi, I knew all of these kind of stuff as well when I was growing up, even in Pakistan. It's not only in the West. But you know, in Pakistan you go to school, and then you go to mosque, and at least you go and pray Jummah properly. You make time, because when I was growing up, when I was a young child, Jummah was a holiday. Friday was a holiday. So on Jummah, parents would make sure that they take their kids to the mosque, and they make time, and they would listen. The kids even go and they would listen to the bayan and the lectures. So these kinds of small stories we would know. But today when I look at the kids in my own class, I'm telling you honestly, in my own class, and I'm saying it with a very sad heart, I'm not being judgmental here. I'm not being judgmental here. I'm saying it with a very sad heart. That when we go into our class and we just ask our kid, he's a 5-year-old child, he's not a baby. He's a 5-year-old child. He knows all about football stars. He knows all about Hollywood stars. He knows all about his own stuff. But when you ask him about the name of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he cannot tell you. If you ask him who is our Prophet, he cannot even tell you the name of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Only few kids. The parents who are concerned tell them the stories of Rasulullah, tell them the stories of Sahaba. These kids know, but majority of them they don't. So I was saying that we need to look into our Islamic traditions, into our Islamic scholarship, so that we can gain this kind of. This is not a kind of knowledge that you think that only ulama should know. This is a very complicated kind of thing, and only ulama. This is some really basic kind of stuff that we all should know. We all are Muslims, and we all should at least know about our Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So one of the questions that he asked was this question, that why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will such a difficult and such a tough childhood for our Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? There are a number of reasons, but inshallah I will only share 3 reasons with all of you, which are the most important reasons. Number 1, first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran about Musa alayhi salam. وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي. I am the one who took care of Musa alayhi salam. When everyone else was being killed in Bani Israel, when the babies were being butchered and they were being slaughtered, and the situation was so difficult that even the mother of Musa alayhi salam was forced to abandon Musa alayhi salam, Allah says at that time, who took care of you? I took care of you. وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي. I took care of Musa alayhi salam. لِتُصْنَعَ عَلَىٰ عَيْنِي. So that Musa alayhi salam can be raised under the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ala aini here means under my protection, under my care. That's what the Mufassirun said. Under my care. Ibn Kathir, Al-Qurtubi, rahmatullah. They said ala aini means under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if Allah is saying this about Musa alayhi salam, then how much more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say about our Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah did not want anyone to make a favor over Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah did not want anyone to say that I did a favor for Rasulullah by taking care of Rasulullah, or I did this favor for Muhammad, or I did that favor of Muhammad. Allah did not want anyone to show any kind of favors, or Allah did not want anyone to make any kind of favors, to give any kind of favors to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah took this responsibility directly. Allah took care of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam directly. So this is the first and foremost reason. The second reason is that no doubt that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was born in his childhood he became an orphan, and no doubt it is tough and difficult, and in some sense it is traumatic to be an orphan. But at the same time, being an orphan gives you certain kind of qualities, and these are the qualities that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would need in his later life. He would need these kinds of qualities. Being pampered and growing in a luxury, this would not make Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this would not prepare Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for a life of lot of sacrifices, or for a life of a mission to call people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A child who is being born in a hardship, who never sees his parents around him, who never sees the love of his parents around him. We as parents, we understand that no one can love me more than my mother. No one can love me more than my father. And Prophet ﷺ is deprived both of his mother and father, and also of his grandfather when he was in such a young age. Automatically that makes Rasulullah ﷺ more independent. It makes Rasulullah more wise. It makes Rasulullah ﷺ more mature. And if you look at any orphan child, generally speaking, most of the orphan child, they are much more mature than other children. They are much more mature than their peers. And these are the kind of qualities that Prophet ﷺ would need later on in his life. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him in that kind of situation. And also we have noticed that the children who are born in poverty, they are more wise and they are more mature than children who are born in luxury. Again, you look around yourself and you find a child who is living under hardship, under difficult circumstances, and subhanallah. I don't want to be stereotypical, but if you compare our kids in the UK, if you compare them with the kids of third world countries, the kind of responsibilities that are placed on them, and the kind of maturity that they have even when they are 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, it's amazing. And there's no need to mention examples, and there's no need to point to anyone. We all are in the same ship. We all have this kind of problem. We see this we observe this in our lives. You know, you go back home, I don't know about other countries, but you go back home, Pakistan, 6-year-old child, 7-year-old, they're taking care of their baby brothers and sisters because their mother had to go out to work in people's houses as a maid, as a servant. So small kids, they're taking care of their brothers and sisters. Why? Because of financial deprivation, because these people are poor people. And here in this country, I won't even give a 16-year-old care of a baby. I won't even trust a 16-year-old child with this kind of responsibility. So these are the kind of things that we observe in our lives. So just imagine the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is a divine wisdom. There is a plan behind everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did. And by putting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through these kinds of difficult situations, that makes him a man that he was. That makes him a man that he needed to be in order to become Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also another reason is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam go through these kinds of difficult situations because that make you experience and understand poverty, you know, rudeness of other people. You know, it makes you understand the harsh realities of this life. And by generally speaking, it makes you more sensitive rather than selfish. You know, it is the rich who is more selfish and not the poor. You know, it is the rich who is more stingy and not the poor. And if you look into your lives, if you look around, the more you have, the more you become stingy. I'm talking about generally. I'm not judging here anyone. No, it's a general perception. The more you have, the more you become stingy. And the less you have, the open you are, the more generous you are, right? So Prophet ﷺ is going through all these kinds of situations in order to become more merciful, in order to become more kind, in order to become more compassionate. And that's why there are so many hadiths of Rasulullah ﷺ about taking care of an orphan. And my brothers, you know, don't you think that when Prophet ﷺ is mentioning all these hadiths about orphan, he's also remembering his own childhood? When he says that, Ana wa kafirul yatim kahatayn fil jannah. Prophet ﷺ said, I and the one who took care of orphan, he will be like this with me in Jannah. I am the one. And in another hadith, subhanAllah, you go through these hadiths and it will make you emotional. It will make you feel that, yeah, Prophet ﷺ is remembering his own childhood. That's why he's saying these hadiths. He said, Prophet ﷺ said, when you see an orphan, even if you cannot take care of him, say good word to him and put your hand through his hair. This is the hadith. Say a good word to him and put your hand through his hair. Treat orphans with love. So for sure when he's saying these hadiths, he's remembering his own childhood. He's remembering his own childhood when he was an orphan as well. And just as a side note, my brothers, just as a side note, my personal advice, it's a reminder to myself, and because we are discussing this Seerah class and there are lessons that we need to learn. At least we should do, the least that we all should do is that we should find an orphan and we should help and support an orphan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with many things in this land. Allah has blessed us with so much in this land. And Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I am the one who take care of an orphan, he will be like this with me in Jannah. So don't we want to be with Rasulullah? Don't we want to stand next to Rasulullah in Jannah? And especially after Allah has given us so much. There are many programs that take care of orphan. Many programs. And they only want you to spend 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds a month, that's it. And wallahi brothers, we spend more on our coffee than this amount every month. We spend more on our TV sets every month. So, there are many people around the world, many organizations. I've studied in Jamia Shafia. I don't know about other organizations, but I've studied in Jamia Shafia. And I always cooperate with that institution. They take care of orphan people. They don't only take care of orphan, they accommodate them, they teach them about Islamic studies. They take care of their responsibility. So go and find, try to find an orphan, sponsor that orphan. If you don't want to go back to Pakistan, find it here. And he doesn't have to be a Muslim. He can be a non-Muslim. He doesn't have to be a Muslim. Take care of an orphan. Prophet ﷺ never put a condition here that he has to be a Muslim orphan. فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ. Use the word yatim. We need to find out how many orphans we can take care of. It's more like telling yourself and encouraging yourself that I'm going to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And even the Quran tells us that how should you take care of an orphan. And how should you give orphan preference over your own self, yatim preference over your own self? So Prophet ﷺ, he's going through these kinds of difficult situations, traumatic situations, so he can develop this kind of fondness, this kind of love and mercy and tenderness and kindness for all those people who are less in society, for all those people that we don't take care of society. And these are the qualities that the Prophet need. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put him in these kinds of situations. One final reason and then we finish inshallah. Allah put him in that kind of situation so that he can be raised in Banu Sa'd. Remember the tribe that adopted Rasulullah, Halima bint Sa'd, she was from which tribe? Banu Sa'd. And they were known for their speaking of Arabic language. And Allah wanted Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be an eloquent speaker. And we all know that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the best when it comes to speaking Arabic language. There is a hadith about Rasulullah that Allah subhanahu, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Utitu jawami al-kalim," that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with the most precise speech, with the most profound speech. Jawami al-kalim means that a phrase that can be explained and understood in many hours, because it contains a lot of meaning. It contains a lot of profundity. So that's why Prophet ﷺ said, Allah has blessed me with this kind of precise speech. That's why he was born an orphan and he was raised in Banu Sa'd, so he can learn this kind of language. And that's the reason why Allah subhanahu. So these are a number of reasons which make us understand why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put Rasulullah ﷺ in so many trials and tribulation when he was just a child, 8 years old, and he lost his grandfather, just an 8-year-old. So inshallah in our next session, there is this one final story about the early childhood of Rasulullah ﷺ that we will discuss. Actually, we need to understand if that story is authentic or not, because most of the people know about that story, but they don't actually know if that is an authentic story or not. This is the story, inshallah, we will discuss in our last session, and then this chapter about the early childhood of Rasulullah ﷺ will be finished. Inshallah, we will complete that session. We will start a new session, we start a new chapter of Seerah, which will be about his relationship with Abu Talib, and inshallah, his marriage with Khadija, and he as a young man, inshallah. So this we will discuss, inshallah, later on in the future. This will be our new class. So I will request all of you brothers, mashallah, I can see more and more brothers are coming and participating in that class, and they are taking part in it, and they are taking interest in it. So I would request you kindly maintain this consistency, because we are doing the whole seerah. It's not like we discuss one part of the life of Rasulullah, then we jump on to some other part. So I'm going from one chapter to another. The book that I'm researching all of this information that I'm sharing with you. There are 2-3 books, but the most easiest book that all of you can read is Rahiq al-Makhtoom, the seal nectar. It's also available in English language. It's a beautiful book of Seerah. You can do the reading yourself, and if you get confused about anything, then you can come back into this class and you can refer to me and you can tell me, and inshallah we will discuss about it, inshallah. So are we ready for this, inshallah? Sure.